Assalamu alaikum and a good day to everyone. Hope and pray that all of you are having a great time. Here is me again with the 13th episode in the Science and History series. The moon was but a chin of gold a night or two ago, and now she turns her perfect face upon the world below. This verse is from the famous poem of Moon by Emily Dickinson. Poets and humans at large have always looked at the moon with wonder, as a symbol of beauty, mystery, and even love. But beyond poetry, the moon has its own fascinating story. Why its face changes, why its light waxes and wanes, why sometimes it looks bigger or of a different color, and how for centuries it has impacted calendars and human life. Today we will explore the moon's secrets, phases, faces and myths, the science we see and the stories we tell. When we look at the night sky, sometimes the moon shines bright and full. At other times it's just a delicate sliver. And occasionally it disappears completely, leaving us with a moonless night. Why? Because the moon doesn't make its own light, it reflects sunlight. And as the moon orbits Earth in about 29.5 days, the angle between the Earth, Moon and Sun keeps changing. And so does the portion of the moon's sunlit part that we can see. That's what creates the phases. Let's walk through them. When the moon is between us and the sun, its lit side faces away from us. That's called the new moon, and we do not see anything. See this picture. A few nights later, the moon has shifted just enough that a tiny slice of its sunlit side peeks out. A thin crescent appears. It's called the waxing crescent, waxing because the visible sunlit part is increasing with time in this part of the journey. A week into the cycle, the moon has completed about a quarter of its orbit, and we are able to see half of its sunlit part. This is called the first quarter, a half moon. Then, as it keeps on orbiting, we see more and more of its sunlit part. This is called waxing gibbous. And then comes the full moon. The whole face shines down upon us in about 14 days. The चौदहवीं का चांद. चौदहवीं का चांद हो या आफताब हो. Sorry, got distracted. Apologies. So, the full moon is when the earth is between the moon and the sun, and we are able to see its full sunlit side. So we call it a full moon. After that, the visible moon begins to shrink. First waning gibbous, then last quarter, and finally a thin crescent again, before disappearing into the new moon. This cycle repeats endlessly every month and is the reason behind the word month itself, which is derived from moon. Just to recap, please look at the picture on the screen. In sequence, new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, third quarter, and waning crescent before the next new moon. I hope it's all clear. Now you might ask, in those 30 days of moon's orbit around the Earth has rotated on its orbit about 30 times. 30 days. Why doesn't that change the view? The answer is, Earth may spin every day, but that doesn't affect the moon's phases. What matters is the moon's position in its month-long orbit around Earth and how sunlight falls on it. Our daily spin just changes when and where we see the moon, not the shape we see. The changing angle of sunlight on the visible part of the moon is the only thing that matters for its phases. Important. Everyone on Earth sees the same phase at the same time, where visible. Clear? For thousands of years, people have tracked time using the moon. A lunar month is about 29 or 30 days, and 12 lunar months make a year of about 354 days. For us Muslims, this is even more important, as our calendar is based on lunar cycles. That's why Islamic months shift each year compared to the solar calendar. Ramzan, for example, moves through the whole solar calendar in about 33 years. Even today, many cultures, not just Muslims, still use the lunar calendar for festivals and rituals. So here is something interesting. Even though the moon's phase is the same everywhere, the start of the lunar month, like Ramadan or Eid, can differ across countries. Why? Because declaring the new crescent moon depends on visibility. And visibility depends on three things. First, the horizon. If the crescent dips below the horizon too soon after sunset, people won't spot it. Second, the angle. The moon's path in the sky can make it appear higher or lower, making it easier or harder to see. And third, the weather. Clouds can hide it altogether. That's why one country may announce Eid a day earlier or later than another. It's not that the moon's phase is different, but only that our visibility of it is different. Therefore, when in reality the lunar date is exactly the same around the world, the actual dates differ just because of visibility. Now here is another fun fact. We always see the same side of the moon. Everybody on Earth has always seen and will always see only the one side of the moon, the same side. That is, the moon only shows one and the same side of it to Earth, always. Why? Because the moon is tidally locked with Earth. This means it rotates on its axis in exactly the same time it takes to orbit Earth. Essentially, we can say that on moon, a day and a year are of the exact same duration. That is almost 29 Earth days. So the same phase always points toward us. The other side, can be called the far side, is hidden from us. It practically remained hidden until the last century when a spacecraft photographed it. You might have heard the phrase the dark side of the moon. It's used in contemporary culture quite frequently in books, songs, movies, series, etc. Scientifically, that's incorrect. Our moon does not have a dark side, since it's not tidally locked with the sun. If a body orbiting a star gets tidally locked with the star, meaning one part of it always faces the star, its other side would be the dark side, since the other side will never get sunlight. Tidal locking is a fascinating topic. We might cover it in more detail in one of our future sessions. We often confuse eclipses with phases, but they're different. Phases are just how much sunlight we see on the moon as it orbits Earth. An eclipse happens only when the sun, the Earth, and the moon line up perfectly, casting a shadow and momentarily darken the view. And the moon does something else remarkable. Its gravity pulls on Earth's ocean, creating the tides, the daily rise and fall of sea levels. Both topics that warrant covering in more detail, maybe sometime in the future. Now for some fun extra. Supermoon. Sometimes the moon looks unusually big or small. That's primarily because its orbit is not a perfect circle. When it's closer to Earth, it looks larger, a supermoon. When it's farther, it looks smaller, a micromoon. Just in case you're curious, the nearest point of an orbit is called perigee and the farthest point is called apogee. Blood moon. During a lunar eclipse, Earth's shadow falls on the moon and its light filters through Earth's atmosphere, turning it a deep red. That's the so-called blood moon. Moonlight and moods. For centuries, people believed that moon influenced human behavior. Ancient people also thought that menstrual cycles were linked to the moon's phases since the duration is almost the same. This idea still echoes in the language today, as even the words menses and month trace back to the same root as moon. The moon is more than just a glowing ball in the night sky. It shapes our calendars, inspires our poetry, and reminds us of the rhythms of nature. And even though science explains its phases, can't take away its magic. So next time you step outside and see the moon, whether it's a thin crescent, a glowing gibbous, or a shining full face, remember, you're looking at the same moon that guided our ancestors, inspired poets, and continues to light up human imagination. This completes this video. Please do point out if there is any part that where you require more information or explanation. Please do ask questions, raise queries or concerns, and highlight mistakes. I closely review all the comments and will provide responses as best as I can. So don't hesitate. And in the end, as always, thanks for watching, stay curious, and Allah Hafiz.